Let me bring that up, and we'll just take a look at that before we finish this out here. So as I've stated in previous live streams, so this is a blog, and I don't know the guy's name, but he created this blog around 2010, and he photoshops fake covers for comics, but specifically for comic book team ups, as he says, comic book team ups that never happened but should have. So we're going to look at another batch of these here. So first of all, Batman and Blade. And I don't recognize these covers or where this is from. This does look like maybe a Neil Adams Batman, so I'm guessing that's like a 70s cover, and that Blade is probably from the 2000s sometime. If the Daywalker refuses, he dies instead. That would be a cool team up, the two of them, Batman and Blade. Something I'd like to see. Okay, next one is Batman and Mira. Mira, of course, is Aquaman's wife. And well, we got the gravestone of Batman here, and it's my Batman is dead. It's my fault. So I do remember these elements. Batman died. So this is from a cover of Batman from the late 70s. And in the original cover, the Batman tombstone is kind of in the middle. And then you had an open grave in front of it, and some of his villains like Joker, Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman, Two-Face, and some others were sort of standing over the grave, sort of like commemorating his death or something like that. I forget the actual issue. And then this Mira here, this is from actually a cover of Aquaman, and this torn cape and cowl, that's from another cover that's sort of been photoshopped in there. But in the original cover of Aquaman, it was right after Aquaman's son had died. I believe it was the following issue, and she was accusing Aquaman of getting their son killed. That's what that was about. And that's Jim Aparo doing the art on Mira there. And we've got Batman and Mogo. Mogo, of course, is the planet Green Lantern, who is a sentient planet. Back off, GL. This alien's my prisoner. No Batman. He's going to face the Guardian's justice. So I don't know what these covers these are from right off. A Battle in the Stars, The Prize, The Fugitive from Two Worlds. So that would be certainly an interesting team up. Okay, Batman and Invincible. That would be an interesting pairing, especially considering Invincible is not opposed to killing at all. And I don't recognize where these figures come from the original covers. Okay, now here's a team up I'd really like to see: Batman and Moon Knight. And that would be cool because Moon Knight is basically a Batman knockoff. At least that's what he started out as originally. Now, you can make an argument that his character has kind of grown and developed enough that he's kind of grown beyond that, and he's not just a Batman knockoff anymore. But certainly in his early days, that is what he was. If you can't stand the heat, don't mess with the White Dragon. So the White Dragon is actually, I believe he's a Spider-Man villain, kind of a low-level Spider-Man villain. And I believe this is a Spider-Man cover originally, maybe for Marvel Team Up. I'm not sure. And I don't recognize where these figures come from. But yeah, that is a Batman and Moon Knight fighting White Dragon. That would be a cool story. I'd really like to see that. Okay, Batman and Moon Dragon. And I do kind of recognize this cover. This actually is from an issue of Marvel 2-in-1, and the cover artist was George Perez, so he drew Moondragon and the background and everything. Now, originally this would have been the Thing. The Thing was up here in the foreground, I think. And of course, he's been photoshopped out and replaced with Batman. I don't recognize right off which cover that Batman comes from. But him meeting Moondragon would certainly be an interesting pairing. Moondragon's kind of an obscure character. She's worked with the Avengers also with the Defenders. Interesting note, Moondragon is actually in the comics, she's actually the daughter of Drax the Destroyer. He was her father. Although in the movies they've kind of they changed that. They didn't do it that way. Okay, Batman and Morbius. So, Holy Morbid time, Batman. So again, this would be kind of a cool pairing. Both of them having that kind of bat vampire theme to them. And I'm trying to remember. This is, I believe, a Brave and the Bold cover, but obviously the original person has been photoshopped out and Morbius put in. I believe that's a Gil Kane figure of Morbius. I don't remember the specific cover of Spider-Man that comes from though, but that would definitely be a cool team up. Yeah, Derpy 501, it's Morbid time. Exactly. Okay, what else have we got here? Thank you for stopping by, Derpy. I appreciate it. Okay, Batman and the Dazzler. So definitely in a creative team up. And I don't remember. This looks like a Silver Age cover. This has got to be some Silver Age cover with Batman. He's got the flowers and the candy. And I'm assuming there was a different figure here, maybe Catwoman or somebody. And Robin's trying to get him to answer the bat signal. And that Dazzler, that figure of Dazzler, that actually comes, I believe, from the the official Marvel, official handbook of the Marvel Universe, which was published back in the 80s. This is the figure from her entry of that. And I'm not sure who the artist is here. If this is really a Silver Age cover, then this may be like Dick Sprang, I think might be the artist. No, no, that's not Dick Sprang. I'm not sure. So Derpy says, "What? I'm just here because I looked up James Gunn. You were live, and here I am. Yeah, here you are, man. Here we both are. Well, thank you for stopping by, nonetheless. I've actually already talked about James Gunn, by the way. I should let you know, and I'm kind of wrapping up here. So Batman and Agents of Atlas. Okay, so this is kind of cool, and this is a cover of Agents of Atlas from Marvel. And then they've added Batman in here, obviously. So the Agents of Atlas characters are kind of interesting. So the the publisher of Marvel Comics, of course, they weren't originally named Marvel Comics. They had a different name. I'm sorry, Derpy. I didn't mean to make you sad, but I thought you should know so you're not just sitting around waiting. Maybe if you want to maybe look for something. But again, this live stream will be available for rewatch if you want to watch it. The James Gunn stuff is kind of early in the live stream, and it's only going to be about an hour long. But these Agents of Atlas characters, so they were published. The publisher of Marvel Comics, they published what are they? National Publications, I think, is what they were originally called. And they published their first comic book series was called Marvel Comics, which is where Marvel kind of originates from. But then they stopped publishing superheroes like most comic book publishers did as World War II was winding down. Now, in the 1950s, they kind of made an attempt to revive a superhero line. So they created a new comic book company called Atlas Comics, and they published a handful of characters. It didn't last very long and died pretty quick. And the characters that they published were these Agents of Atlas characters. Now, these characters were later revived, like decades later, by Marvel and sort of folded into the Marvel universe. The idea being that they kind of were predecessors of the Avengers and that sort of thing. So Derpy says, can you go for another 10, 15 to because you seem like a DC fan that wasn't fan of Snyder's work, but it's okay. And hello, Lord Thoth. Thanks for stopping by. 15 because you seem like I mean, yeah, I can go. I can go for another 15 minutes. Like I say, I'll just cycle through these covers. And yeah, so Lord Thoth, I've already done most of my live stream. I'm just kind of going through some more of these covers. And I think you've seen me do these before, I think, but they're just kind of fictional sort of Photoshop covers, and I just kind of give my thoughts on them. And these Agents of Atlas characters, they were given their own series, and there's, of course, a classic '50s character is this ape man. I forget his name, and then there's this robot, Namora, or is it Namorita? And she's, of course, a cousin to Namor, the Submariner. Johnny Cho, who was a civilian kind of, though eventually he became an agent of Shield. Venus, and this character who was originally Marvel Boy, although they changed his name to kind of the awkward name of the Uranian, which is kind of a weird name to give somebody. So what else we got here? Okay, so Batman and Mr. Fantastic. And I actually have this issue of Brave and the Bold. So and I forget the issue. Is it 189? I guess that's it. But the original cover, it was Batman, and there's a DC character. She's kind of obscure called Thorn, and she's a female kind of vigilante. And she was the person that Batman was teaming up with in this. This was a multi-part story, like a two-parter. And she was originally tied here to this other stake. They've taken her out and put in Mr. Fantastic. And this is a Mr. Fantastic image by John Byrne, and this is from a cover of Fantastic Four, and I don't remember the issue number, but John Byrne did an issue called "The Trial of Reed Richards." Early in his run, there had been a story where Galactus came to Earth, and of course, was going to eat the planet, and the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, fought him, and they were able to basically defeat him because he was very low in power. His power was kind of depleted, and they got Galactus to, swear not to eat Earth, and then he left. And then a couple of years later, there was this follow-up issue where a bunch of alien civilizations came to Earth, basically to put Reed Richards on trial because their worlds had subsequently been eaten by Galactus. And of course, they blamed Reed because he had saved Galactus's life. Galactus had actually been dying, and Reed had actually worked to allow him to live. And it was an interesting story, and that's what this cover is from. What else we got here? Batman and Hellboy. Let's see. And I don't recognize what cover this Hellboy comes from. Stop, Hellboy! This is the only thing that can destroy him. The night Batman sold us. So I don't know. Again, it would be an interesting team up. But I'm trying to think if there was an actual Batman Hellboy. I think there might have been at some point because I think I think Hellboy. I know Batman did some team ups with some Dark Horse characters, and Hellboy was a Dark Horse character. There might have actually been one at some point. Batman and Detective Chimp. Uh, okay, so this is a fun one. I'm one of those comic book readers. I love stories with apes in them. It's kind of a trope, talking apes and whatnot, but I kind of dig them myself. Anyway, so Detective Chimp and Batman. So this Detective Chimp image, this comes, I think this is from a cover of Animal Man, actually. I believe that's Brian Boland on the artwork on Detective Chimp. Now, the Batman, this is from back in the 90s, late 90s. There was this kind of crossover event they did in all the Justice League related annuals one year called JL Ape, where basically all the members of the Justice League got turned into apes. And this is actually from the Batman annual from that year. And then the Ultra Human, I'm trying to think where this image of Ultra Human I came from. I think this is from a cover of Infinity Incorporated from the early 80s, but I'm not sure. Okay, Brave and the Bold, Batman and four famous co-stars. Red Star, Superman Red Sun, Crimson Dynamo, Colossus. Bat in the USSR. Okay, so it's Batman teaming up with a bunch of Russian characters. Let's see. And so Red Star, of course, Red Star was introduced in the Teen Titans in the late 60s, I think. And he's became a recurring character. He even joined the Titans at one point, I think, like in the late 80s for a little while. Crimson Dynamo, of course, is a longtime Iron Man enemy. And Superman Red Sun, of course, from that one Elseworld story back in the 90s that's pretty popular. And then, of course, Colossus is an X-Man character. That's definitely a Dave Cockrum Colossus there. Dave Cockrum being the artist who originally created the design for Colossus, as well as Storm and Nightcrawler. Okay, let's see what else. Batman and Mr. Terrific. The world's smartest detective versus the world's smartest man. Defeat in dual dimensions. Okay, so it's both Mr. Terrifics. It's like the modern one and then the Golden Age versions. Oh, I really think, there have been a lot of, there's been a lot of complaints about all the race and gender swapping of characters in films and whatnot, and certainly in comics as well. But I do think it can work sometimes. And I actually think what DJ Ronnie G. Hey, hello, DJ Ronnie G. Thanks for stopping by. American Iron Man. Were you talking about? I don't know. Were you talking about Crimson Dynamo? Okay, so, but I actually think that the race swapping of Mister Terrific was actually a pretty good idea by Jeff Johns. He's the one who originally did it in JSA back in the like right at the end of the 90s, and it was a Mister Terrific was a character that was um, defunct. He had been around briefly in the Golden Age, and then he hadn't been used really since the Golden Age. Now, in the 70s, they did a brief storyline involving him in one of their Justice League JSA crossovers, but the story was basically about them solving his murder. Basically, he was killed, and so, it was not really much to him being in it. And then they didn't use him again. So the character was basically a character no one was making use of. And so I thought it was a good move to take that character and actually race swap him. I thought it worked really well. I like the modern version of Mr. Terrific Michael Holt. And honestly, Mr. Terrific was always kind of a cheesy character. And I think you could probably make an argument that making the guy black is probably the only way you could make Mr. Terrific seem cool. I think you could probably make an argument like that. And what else we got here? Batman and Ms. Marvel. Okay, so this is a Ms. Marvel cover with Batman. That's a Jim Aparo Batman swinging. I forget which issue of Ms. Marvel this is, but this is I think that might be Gil Kane. I think that might be Gil Kane art. That's definitely Bill Kane or Gil Kane doing Ms. Marvel, I think. And let's see what else we got. Okay, Batman and Nick Fury. Nick Fury, Shield. This is Nick Fury of Shield, and the Batcave is mine. So Nick Fury's like infiltrated the Batcave. That's fun. So that would definitely be an interesting meeting between the two of them. This is Gary Frank, or maybe no, that's Dale Keown. That's Dale Keown doing Nick Fury. That would be a fun one. Okay, so I'm at 8, so I think I'll probably go ahead and wrap it up here, and I'll continue this in the next live stream I do. I'll probably do one on Saturday, even though it's going to be Christmas Eve, but I figure why not? I'll probably have some spare time to do it. I do want to thank those of you who stopped by. And again, I want to thank those who will watch on the rewatch afterwards. And I'll go ahead and sign off here. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.